The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, download the Living Zen-podcast app for iPod, iPhone, and Android. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by becoming a part of our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at zenwest.ca and click on Become an Associate. Many more Zen Talks are available for purchase on iTunes and Amazon.com. Just search for Venerable Eshu Martin. These talks are also available for free on our website to all members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.
Yeah, well, I guess I just wanted to ask you about the formality of the procedure here. It seems more like a religion and a philosophy. Mm-hmm. You guys have robes on, and I notice a lot of people have short cropped hair. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious about those things about the Zen tradition.
Oh, let me just get some tea. So, robes and formality. Basically, the Zen is an experiential school of practice. So, one of the ways to understand why we do things the way that we do, where the robes come from, is to understand that all of Buddhism and Zen is focused at investigating the self. But we don't do this from an intellectual perspective. We do it from an experiential perspective. And so we have this environment where, in the world around us, we kind of do the things the way that we like to do them and we want to do them. We get up in the morning and we put on the clothes and we do our hair the way that we want to do our hair, the way that expresses who we are, right? Like, this is me, right? And so when we come to the Zendo, we want to investigate what that thing is that we call ourselves and how we attach to it and where we're attached to it. So the first thing we do is we just start with a simple exercise where we say, we're all going to wear harmonious clothing, similar clothing, right? And so for many people, they get in contact with the Zen Center and they say, okay, so I want to start doing stuff at the Zen Center. And I say, okay, the first thing for the orientation class is that you've got to get a gi. You've got to get the uniform. For many people, that's enough. Not interested. Thank you very much. I always find this interesting, and you say, oh, it's like a religion. And I'd say, oh, or it's like a ballet class or a, like karate class. There's lots of things that we do where there is sort of prescribed clothing that's appropriate for the practice. In the Zen school, the reason is that we are letting go. We're investigating what it is to let go of that hold that we have on ourselves. There's not just black robes, We ask that you don't wear jewelry in the Zendo. We ask that you don't wear makeup or scents, or even that you don't wear watches in the Zendo, because that's the responsibility of the timekeeper. And there's all these things where, even to talk about this for some people, there starts to be this sort of like prickle, like, oh my God, like that's a lot of stuff to give up. I've seen all kinds of stuff where someone will wear a gi like this, but underneath they've got like this fluorescent top on, because it's like, I just gotta be me, or, And so we investigate all of that stuff and how it comes up. There's all kinds of stuff, and every aspect of the form, they're like corners where we can get stuck. And the practice is, first of all, the seated meditation practice is about really bringing ourselves into the experience that's going on in our lives right there. And then we have sort of all this form where we're, especially in the beginning, we sort of bump up against it. Things like, don't round the corners when we're walking, keep in step. All of this stuff where there's these great opportunities for the self to sort of want to assert it, keep in step, So we try that for a while, but then we start to think, and then we're not actually connected with our environment anymore. We fall out of step. And then we look and we go, oh, gee. And do we just let go of the self-abuse about, how stupid we are and can't keep in step and just get back in step? Or do we sort of just make that into the next thing and then everyone stops and we crash into the person in front of us? All of this form, and particularly in the Rinzai school, it's aimed at being sort of this continuous motion. The transitions are very smooth, and there's not a lot of opportunity to sort of station and coalesce or come into selfhood again. And that's something that we're always looking for in life. It's like, I want to do this activity, and then I want there to be a pause where I can sort of think about the next thing that I'm going to do, and then from there I'll sort of transition into the next thing. And in Zen, particularly in this school, it's about smoothly transitioning without allowing this sort of fixed idea of who we are to accumulate, because we find that that's where all the trouble happens. So all of the aspects of form that we use are really about allowing ourselves to experience life as it happens. Life doesn't happen sort of in neat little segmented bits. It happens as this sort of continuous stream. And Zen practice is about immersing ourselves in that stream, becoming a part of that stream. We're already a part of that stream, just recognizing that we're a part of that stream and flowing harmoniously with it. So that's why we sort of do things the way that we do. So.
Yeah. I didn't find the structure of it appealing.
Mm-hmm. I find it's one or the other. Some people, it's like, I went to Catholic school, I don't need any of that. Some people, we chant this thing at the beginning, form is empty, emptiness is form. And the structure, what I find for myself is that, and particularly after the intensive that we do, where we're structured from 4 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, like everyone's together doing the same thing. Well, not the same thing. But we're all in this thing together. And what we find is that it's this very powerful structure which allows you to completely melt within it. It's like from the moment that you start in the morning, particularly at an intensive or even on a night like this, for the next hour, you're not worried about what you're going to wear, what you're going to eat, what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, how you're going to do it. It's like all there. And it's amazing how much spaciousness your life has when all of those little things are sort of established. And so, especially in an intensive environment, it provides you with this opportunity for all of this stuff that you say, oh, I'll deal with that later, to sort of come up, and you can actually start to face it, work through it, and just allow it to go. And then the experience of coming back is, now what's life like when I'm not carrying around all this stuff? So, yeah, I love the form. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
I just have a very quick question about this weekend. You mentioned it was about Doshu, actually, about the level that he's... Say just a few things. What was the name of it?
Shuso. It's a very deep spiritual... The word means head seat. So basically, Doshu has been ordained for 3 years. Actually, the 19th was his sort of monk birthday. And so after 3 years of being a novice, you become a junior priest. So basically, the role is one where it's going to be really fun, so I hope everyone comes, because Doshu's going to give a reading, like he's chosen a piece of scripture that he particularly likes. He's going to give a talk about it. I get off the platform, he gets on the platform. Because the role of the Shuso is basically that in the absence of the abbot, the Shuso, the head seat, becomes the representative of the tradition, and they've got to answer all the questions. So after the talk, then he's got to do Mando, which is just question and response. I'll be talking about it a little bit because this ceremony is usually really sort of like kabuki, or it's very sort of like the Shusos traditionally is like, "Come, dragons and elephants, challenge me!" It's like really sort of bombastic, and I'm kind of like and it's usually kind of scripted. So the questions are kind of prefabricated, and the responses are, "And the iron cow will moo," and all this kind of stuff. And we're not going to do that because I think that Doshu is more than capable of learning a script. But what I'm interested in is seeing if Doshu can actually respond to questions. So bring some good questions for Doshu on Sunday. And it's really brief, and it's really just, more than anything for me, it's really just an acknowledgement of all of the work and transformation that Doshu's been through in the past 3 years, and indeed throughout his lifetime of practice. And it's an opportunity for the community to really affirm that. So, yeah.
Is he getting a new name?
No, not yet. That's 7 more years. Yeah.
With the ones who are just entering, will they be getting their first name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what all these people with the funny names, that they've done Jukai, this receiving of the precepts. And the significance of that is just like, well, it's again coming back to sort of like the nature of this self and habit, and we are so strongly attached to who we are that sometimes it's difficult to really change. So this idea, after you've practiced for a few years with the Zen Centre, and you're familiar with this practice, and maybe some things have started to change, you receive the precepts, and you get this name, and in a lot of ways, the name is an opportunity to be reborn, I guess, to borrow a phrase, born again, to more fully expand into a new way of being. So that's what the ceremony is about. So, yeah.
Could you address the obstacles and the names that we have as an action rather than how to change our names, depending on what roles we're in?
Oh, yeah. That's... Yeah, again, it comes back to sort of this transformation. So then we get these fancy names, and we come and practice like this. But then you have different jobs in the Zendo. The timekeeper is called the Jikijitsu, and the person who sits over there is called the Shoji, and the person who rings the bell is called the Densu. And when a person takes that role, that's what you call them. Instead of sort of them being a person or the job being a job, they're manifesting as this activity. And so that's, again, the practice is to transform. So for some people, like, they've got different characteristics. So like the Jikijitsu is the sort of disciplinarian, and they're the timekeeper, and they keep everything sort of running along the rails. And the Shoji is the caretaker, so they're responsible for the, like tonight the Jikijitsu said, "Shoji, can you close the Jiki door?" They're responsible for the environment, making sure that everybody's sort of doing well in the Zendo. And so for somebody, maybe the Jikijitsu is really easy to do because they're naturally sort of like sharp. But then to do the Shoji is really difficult because you can't be sharp like that. And likewise, somebody who's really nurturing and kind really has no problem with the Shoji. So you like to put them in the Jikijitsu, and they have to let go of the normal way that they like to do business and manifest in this different way. And so that's a form of training that we do. So. Yes.
I was talking to Darius, who's my eldest son, about the chants we did tonight. And he wondered when Daikokushi lived.
1250 about? Yeah. 1250, 1300, basically. He's like Nampo Shomyo Shuho Myocho. Yeah, so it's about 1250, yeah. That was easy.
Did you say it was hard?
There's a lineage straight back, they say, from Zen right back to the Buddha. Is that true that they have documented the...
True. Yeah, every we don't do it every Sunday, do we? We don't do the whole thing, just on intensives, eh? Yeah. So yeah, we have a lineage that all traditions of Zen have a lineage that goes back to the historical Buddha. Of course, literary historians, it's arguable. And I mean, basically, it really didn't become a tradition accounting for the lineage until Buddhism moved into China, where lineage family is such a huge thing. But certainly, I would say, at the very least, probably from about 700 to the present, it's fairly accurate. So,
Pretty comprehensive.
well, this is. When did I talk about that? Was it at the session where I talked about? Yeah. So it's something that actually, being a monk, and sort of when I first came to the Victoria Zen Centre, it was just a few people sitting once a week, and most of the discussion was about who was bringing tea and cookies the next week. And to see it grow and to know how much time and energy that I've put into developing this community, and just that commitment doesn't diminish over time, it actually increases to the point where, my whole life is this practice and making space for it for other people. And then we chant this lineage, and, I know the person before me, that was my teacher in the lineage, and then, to go back and back and back. And we do it so that the first names we do are all in Sanskrit, right? So they have a certain sound to them. And then the lineage hits China, and they're all in Chinese, and that has a particular sound to it, which is entirely incorrect. It's the best we can do. And then it hits Japan, and that has a different sound to it. And for me, it's like, and I know for Doshu, it's sometimes a very emotional experience for me to know that this is lifetime after lifetime of individuals giving their life that's carried this practice, this teaching from 500 BC to today, so that there's people who are practicing this stuff. It's an amazing. It's amazing. So, and it's changed, over time. And each of these people has been charged with the responsibility of looking at how to make that practice accessible to the people who they're practicing with. So it's just, it's pretty humbling experience. Yeah.
How many people are members of the Zen community in Victoria?
Right now we have about 40 members, and we have about 42 associates. So. Yeah, so it's just about 100 people, I would say. So, yeah, and then, but of course, like these are people who have stepped forward and said, I want to be a part of this community, and have committed to supporting it financially as well. We have a podcast, as has been mentioned on a number of occasions, and that it's been up for about 2 years. And there's been 485,000 downloads of that podcast. And regularly we get emails from everywhere, all over the world. So yes, our sort of like paying gang is 80, 85 people. But the number of people that are connected with this community is I have no idea. And this is one of the things that keeps coming back, is I have no idea. Getting emails from people who are like, I'm in New South Wales, Australia, and, I've been listening to the podcast for a year and a half, and I just want to say, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's incredible. So, yeah, it's a wonderful feeling to know that what those people who are members and associates of the Zen Center are doing, that they're paying into, is making this practice and teaching available, like at a scale that I can't even really fathom. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen-podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.